So you watched our first PI video and you want to know how to make even more with Planetary Industry. In this video, we're going to show you how to make way more lucrative items all the way up to P2 and some alternative layouts you can really use to maximize your PI all inside of ISK. So if you want the best EVE Online guides, you came to the right place. Ladies and gentlemen, Loru here, digital advertiser, content creator, and EVE enjoyer for the better part of 10 years now. And let's talk PI! Now, before I go any further, this video assumes you have a basic understanding of Planetary Industry. If you missed our first video, it is mandatory, hear me, mandatory, to go watch that first video. The playlist link to our full PI guide will be in the description. We take you from zero to hero. On this character, we've got some different PI setups for you. I wanted to start by showing y'all some alternatives to the basic setup we had yesterday. Now, this planet is in ISK, and you can see that we've got 2 extractors set up, 2 on 1 planet, and we've got 4 basic factories, all making 2 types of P1, bacteria and biofuels. And I'd like to start off by talking about something super important. When you're doing PI, it's less about what you can make and more about what's plentiful, especially in ISK. You can see that there's microorganisms on this planet, and we've set up our extractor to find them enough. But if we try to look at aqueous liquids, there's like 1 spot down there, but it's super far from the rest of the microorganisms. So it was really hard for me to try to make P2s with this. But what I did see is that carbon compounds were pretty plentiful and close enough so that even with this super long link, we were able to set up 2 extractors. So we've got an extractor, a storage, and a launch pad close together, with our 2 factories also close to the main launch pad area. And this extractor is going after microorganisms. They're super plentiful along this central band. But our second extractor is going after these carbon compounds. Now, each one of these does not have a full swath of extractors. The carbon compound one is missing 2, and the microorganism one is missing 3. Now, what I've done with this is, depending on what I need, I will remove an extractor from one of them and give it to the other, so that I can keep balancing between what I have and what I don't have. I'm gonna draw a graph on screen. Y'all are gonna love this. When you're trying to do PI, you want your extractors to be making this much materials. You don't want your factories to need more materials, because then they won't operate. You want your factories to require a little bit less than your extractors are putting out. That way, as the extractor is producing, your factory is also, and you have 0 downtime. Because hear me, y'all, PI at its core is not how much ISK per hour can you pump out. The problem to solve is how efficient can you be per planet. This planet would have been inefficient for me to make P2s because the location of all of the stuff was really spread out. So instead, when I did the math, it was better if I made 2 P1s. Let me show you a separate example to really drive this point home. On this alt, that is the only planet that makes 2 P1s. The rest of the planets on this alt are making P2s on 1 planet. Let's check on this planet here. We've got a 2 extractor set up again, 1 that's down here, 1 that's up here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 basic factories and 1, 2 advanced factories. This is another rule of PI when you start getting more advanced. You want to have a lot of extractors, less basic factories, and then whatever number basic factories you have, you want half advanced factories. This is also true if you have dedicated crafting planets. We're going to have videos on that. So let's take a deeper look into how this one works. On this planet, we are extracting aqueous liquids. This is close to our main setup. Then all the way down here, we're extracting microorganisms. All of those P0s are getting transported into our storage container, which are then routed into these 4 basic factories. Now, you can already see that we have a lot of microorganisms and aqueous liquids that are just left over. This is great because if I don't check in on this, it just keeps churning out P2s. This is another PI principle. Because I've been disciplined these past 9 days, making sure I check this, I can just not show up a couple days and the machine keeps running. Now, the P1 those factories made are going back into this storage container, and then those are routed into the advanced factories. Let me show you how to make one of those. We've got our double extractor set up. We've got 4 factories making P1s. We're going to have 2 factories that are going to make P2s. And I'll put this over here just so it's easier to see. We're going to make our link. We're going to press submit. Cost about 250,000 to make 1 advanced factory. Now, on this planet, once again, we're taking bacteria and water and turning it in to test cultures. This is the P2 mat. So we're going to click on this advanced factory and come down to test cultures. I can't find the daggum thing. Where is it? Okay, there it is. Now remember, when you press install, it's asking where am I going to put the test cultures. We're going to put them in the launch pad and then press create route and then press submit. Now it's red because it still needs an input just like last video. So we come to the storage container, we click on storage, we go to bacteria, create route, we click the factory, create route again, press storage a second time, go to the water, create Gate route, advanced factory, you know the drill, press submit. This is now crafting in production test cultures. And before we go any further, we got some special goodies for you. Now, y'all know that I'm an Eve partner. That means the devs give me skins to give to you. And just like in our last video where we gave away a bunch of fully fit epithals so you can start your PI journey, complete with all the skill books you need to start your PI stuff and get it going. We're gonna do the same thing this time. So 3 of you are gonna get fully fit epithals with the skill books you need, and there's going to be scope syndication skins and all those cargo holds as well. I know, I'm excited too. Now, in order to win this giveaway, you have to do these 3 things. First thing you gotta do is be subscribed. My bot's gonna know if you're not subbed, and you're gonna miss out on literally hundreds of millions of ISK right now, today. The second thing you gotta do is go in the comments and put, I want pie. Who doesn't like pie? The third thing you're gonna do is tell me in that same comment your in-game name. I gotta know who the heck to send the contract to. Don't miss out on this, y'all. We're trying to make sure as many of you get as much PI as possible. I wanna make many of y'all space rich, and by the end of this series, you definitely will be. Enjoy that, y'all. Let's get back to the video. Let me do some math to prove all this stuff that I've been telling y'all. I know, it wouldn't be an EVE Online guide without some Excel. So follow me here. Every single basic factory is gonna need 6,000 P0 an hour input, but they're gonna output 40 P1 an hour. For factories, we're gonna need 24,000 P0 input, and we're gonna output 160 P1 an hour. Now, if I scroll over to our advanced stuff, the advanced factories need 80 P1 an hour. They're gonna output 5 units of P2. We have 2 factories. That means we need 160 P1 an hour to get 10 P2 an hour. The math works out that when you want to have 2 advanced factories on the planet, you need 4 basic ones in order to be able to supply them. Now, the last thing I wanted to show you for this video is the Customs Code Expertise skill book. Now, we're making these first 2 videos in high sec. We're going to have other more dangerous areas very, very soon. Now, the Custom Code Expertise skill book is going to reduce the cost you spend on customs every single time you pull things out of the customs office. Now, note this does not apply to interbus custom offices. It's a nice way of saying it doesn't work on player-owned custom offices. But since this guide is mainly focused around high sec, I assume that many of you are going to be in high sec doing these things. So spend some money on this to be able to afford more things in the future. Now, I wanted to show you the rest of the planets on this characters just to give you some ideas. This planet, we're actually making construction blocks, and I just started this yesterday, I think. So we're really not motoring too hard on this. We got the 4 basic factories here, and then the 2 advanced factories. The advanced factories are working on cooldown because we had a base of these ready to go. What I did was I had this run just extracting for like 3 days while making P1s, and then I decommissioned those basic factories to make advanced factories. Now I have a surplus of everything. So if I really wanted to, I could just not touch this and it'll still be making me P2. A little bit far on that link, but still good on CPU. And here as well, we see this extractor is a little bit further down. This planet here is making nanites. This one's making test cultures, and that one's making test cultures. The only one I don't have is the first planet that I showed you making 2 P1s. Now, in our next video, we're going to show you how to make even more lucrative things with the various materials that you've been stockpiling. Make sure you bookmark the PI Masterclass right here. It's a full playlist chock full of all the PI goodness you need to make hundreds of millions, and yes, we're working our way towards billions a month per character. And y'all, if you want even more guides, make sure you sub right here. Thanks very much for enjoying, everybody. We'll see you in the next video.